Hey everybody. We're sitting here in this JK Brute. And after all the time spent in JLs and JTs, I've really forgotten how basic the JK dash is. I mean, yeah, it's functional and it's actually very minimalistic, which is nice for a trail rig. But, well, in today's tech-dominated world, we really need more tech in here. I mean, maybe something like a 10-inch screen, HDMI input would be cool. How about some camera inputs so we can add a backup camera, a forward camera, maybe even a couple extras for other camera angles. And then you gotta have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto depending on your phone. And then GPS navigation would be nice, and a host of other things. So, instead of talking about it, let's use a little bit of that Northridge 4x4 magic and see what we can come up with. There we go. The Heigh10 Multimedia Center from Stinger Offroad. The Heigh10 Multimedia Center from Stinger Offroad has that 10-inch high-def screen and all those other functions we were hoping for. It has Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. It's Serius XM radio ready. You just got to add in a tuner. It has a built-in micro SD card slot for the optional iGo navigation. It has an AM/FM radio, hands-free Bluetooth, and it adds in 2 USB inputs. Now for sound capabilities, it features a 4x50 watt peak built-in amplifier. So just adding the Heigh10 to your factory audio system will make it sound better than it ever has. Now you also get 6-channel RCA audio outputs with subwoofer control so you can easily add more audio gear. It features a 15-band adjustable equalizer with 6 user presets, an adjustable high-pass front and rear and low-pass subwoofer crossover for you audio heads, and that USB input can accept up to a 64 gig thumb drive. Now there are 2 things we need to mention. One, it is a wired connection for the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And 2, this unit is not weatherproof or waterproof in any way. So if you're out driving with the top off, make sure to keep an eye on the changing weather conditions. Now that we've given you the basics of the Heigh10 Multimedia Center, let's show you how to install it. All right, we're going to start our install by removing the knee panel. Grab a hold of it, give it a good yank, she hinges down and slides out. Then you have on either side of the steering wheel, you have these 7mm bolts. Grab a 7mm socket. And pull them out. All right, now we want to grab a plastic trim tool. And we're going to very carefully pop out your power window or storage pocket. We can reach behind it. We need to unlock it. And then push down on the tab. And we can unplug it. That gets set aside. And then down in here, we have another 7mm bolt. And reach right down here in the bottom. And pull that guy out. And reach up on top. And grab that little rubber tray out. And there's another 7mm bolt. Then we're gonna start down here through this opening and just carefully pull on the dash. Now on the factory radio itself, you've got 4 7mm screws, 1 at each corner. And just grab it, give it a good yank, and we can slide it out. And pop all our connectors off the backside. And we really don't need this anymore. All All right, now we want to reach down here to the climate control section and just start popping that out. And it actually help if we threw our key in, and let's shift back into drive. And we pull our plugs out. There we go. We're going to grab our climate control console, and we want to remove this socket. So flip it over. We want to pop this little plastic clip. Sockets out. And then we can remove this bezel by pushing on the little retaining clips on each side. And our sockets out. Okay, now we can grab our Stinger USB port. And we're going to feed the wires through. Now we just want to turn that to whichever direction you want. Vertical, horizontal, doesn't make a difference. Then we take our lock nut and screw that down. Nice and tight. And that's ready to go back in. Now we're going to grab our USB cables, and we want to route them up behind the metal bracket. We want to route them all the way up and come in from behind the metal bracket. And then we can plug our plugs back into the climate control. And then we can snap that console back in. Now you see this little flat plate right here? Well, it's not quite flat, but we want to wipe it off with some denatured alcohol. Then we're going to take this metal plate, slide it right back there and stick it down. Then we can grab our GPS antenna and stick it to that plate. Want to route the connector back behind the dash. Down, uphill, downhill. This might slide and actually lose contact. But it's not going to go off. And we want to go behind that metal plate. And then we can feed our wire all the way through. All right, we want to take all this cable and we want to make a big loop with it. Once we have that loop, you want to stretch it out, give it a twist. So now we've got a figure 8, and then we're going to wrap it back on itself. And secure it with zip ties. And by doing that, we have 2 loops of cable running opposite directions, which will help cancel out any weird static backlog we might get into the radio. All right, then we're going to grab our antenna adapter, and that's going to go into the white plug here. Now that's ready for the new head unit. Now this is the point in time that we'd wire in any amplifiers, cameras, anything like that. We'd want to route them up under the dash and come through behind this metal bracket. Okay, we then want to take our head unit and we can put that on the mounting panel. And we're going to flip this over onto a soft surface. Then we're going to take these M4 by 10 mil screws, and they're going to come in on the side. And we're going to screw them in to the holes here. You only just want to get them in a couple threads. And we want to grab our radio unit. We're going to grab our steel brackets, and they're going to go on each side. We're going to use these M5 screws. And we can flip it over and do the same on the other side. Then we've got this little bracket here, and if you look closely, it says front with an arrow, and that is going to go to the same side with all our plug-in ports. And we've got this hole right here. And then swing it up right to where you're into this barcode, and push your screwdriver down in, and that's where the next screw goes. We're just using these little tiny M4 by 4 mil long screws, so they don't go very far down into that radio unit. All right, then we want to grab our radio replacement SWC interface. It's going to say RP4-CH11. And if you look on the one side here, you'll see a little arrow with some numbers. We want to put that to number 4. So a little tiny screwdriver. And just work your way over to number 4. Then we want to remove this warning sticker that's covering the 16-pin plug. Then we're going to grab our main harness. And we want to plug our 16-pin plug in. And on the other side, we have this 4-pin plug. All right, then we want to look here whether we have an amplifier or not. So if it's amplified, you want to plug this harness into this plug that says amplified. If we don't have an amplifier, we want to go into the next one over, the non-amplified plug. Now, quick word on the amplified versus non-amplified circuit. If you have that factory premium Alpine stereo system with that big Alpine amp, then you're going to want to use the amplified circuit. However, if you don't have an amp, or if you have that small factory amp that's located under the steering column, then you're going to want to use the non-amplified circuit. Then we want to connect our 16-pin connector. And this little 6-pin connector. Then we have the 8-pin display cable, and that's going to go down here. And then we have this blue LVDS cable. And we'll take our interface, and it's going to go up on top of the radio box, and we'll use one of these little M4 screws. All right, now we've got our additional camera harness. This has got your leads for your camera number 2, number 3, number 4. But more importantly, for this install, we want to make sure we use this pink wire, the speed sensor. So we're going to plug this in to our deck and take this pink wire, and we're going to go to the pink wire on the main harness. And let's plug those together. Then we have our audio harness, and this has all the ends with the RCAs on it for aftermarket amp or speakers. Now if you have your factory backup camera, we're going to use this yellow lead here. And then you're going to plug into your power leads here on the main harness, the red and the black, for your aftermarket camera. And the last harness we're going to use is our mic harness. All right, since we're using that mic, we want to use our mic harness, and that's going to slip right in here. And then the last harness is our Serius XM harness, and this is only if you want to run Serius XM, and it plugs into the deck unit back here, and then plug into your Serius XM antenna. We'll grab our side panel here, and we can just pop it out, and go ahead and fish your mic cord up behind panel, and we can throw our screw back in, and then route our mic cord all the way over. All right, and then all this excessive speaker wire, let's just roll it up. And that can just get tucked back in there. All right, so now we'll grab our deck unit, and we have lots of stuff to plug in here. First off, we can go with our main plug. All right, here's our antenna cord. It's gonna plug in there. This is our VLCD plug, and that goes right into the back of the unit. Our GPS plug, and that's going to go in back there. All right, now if you're going to run an HDMI cord, that plugs in right here underneath the Stinger name. And we also have the 2 USB cords, and they're pretty long, so let's go ahead and put a couple loops in them and anchor them with a zip tie. So we'll plug that one in. And now we've got to get all this spaghetti nest of wires back up inside there. Put our head unit screws back in. And just like anything, if you're going to use some power tools, make sure that you have a couple threads engaged to begin with so you don't strip anything out. And now we can fit our dash panel back in. And our little coin tray. Now we can grab our display. And plug our 2 leads in. Now that we have our cords plugged in, let's go ahead and fire this thing up and see what it looks like. Make sure it works good before we finalize the installation. All right, let's plug a USB in. Pair. All right, we're going to take our blue painter's tape. And let's go ahead and put a piece of it right along here. That clicked. That clicked. Okay. Now the trick is, I think, is to screw these in while you're pushing in. All right, now we can take our bezel and put the top on first, and then we're gonna snap it into place. And then the last thing to do, so there's the Heigh10 Multimedia Center from Stinger Offroad. And as you can see, there's a lot to it. And the installation was pretty easy to do. It is a stereo, and with all the tech in it, there's a lot of wires. So you'll want to practice good wire management. The neat thing is, with all those extra leads in there, we can add so much more. We can add cameras, and that's something we'd really like to do, and be able to take advantage of the camera function of this. Having up to 4 cameras, that's pretty cool. And then, well, the audio, having those extra audio inputs, outputs, so we can add in a bigger amp, we can add in better speakers, that would be really nice too. So it'll be interesting to see what we can do with this in the future. Now, of course, the bigger question is, do you want one for your Jeep? Whether it be the JK, the JL, or the JT, we have them here at Northridge 4x4, and we can get one to you. Just hit those links down in the description box below and get yours on the way. And while you're down there, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and then hit up the comment section. What do you think about this Heigh10 Multimedia Center from Stinger Offroad? Thanks for watching today. We'll see you again soon.